All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our inaugural student film premiere. My name is Annie Delgado, and I'm the director of youth programs. I would like to thank each of you for being here this evening. I can't think of a better way to end this day than to spotlight the work of our Youth Media Academy participants. We're going to take a moment, though, to spotlight what we at the Representation Project do and why it matters.
It's gonna make the same noise though.
There's a lot, you know.
All right. Thank you.
That's all stuff I have.
Oh, I thought you were taking it all the time. I was like,
Oh, this I can put it in my bag.
But I need the photos that are
That one's named Heck.
In our country, we need a platform that will not only challenge gender stereotypes, but create a fighting voice that inspires collective action. That's why Jennifer Siebel-Newsom created the Representation Project. In 2011, Misrepresentation exposed mainstream media's sexist depictions of women. In 2015, Jennifer launched a national conversation about masculinity with her film, The Mask You Live In. In her latest project, The Great American Lie, she exposes social and economic immobility through a gender lens. Through social media, the Representation Project has created viral campaigns such as #NotBuyingIt that made supergroup ads less sexist. We have become the nation's leading gender watchdog organization. As with any cultural shift, change begins with education. We've developed curricula that has reached over 28 million students, organized a youth media summit that has motivated over 500 young leaders, and launched the Youth Media Academy that gives opportunity to find their voice by creating their own films. Through all of these efforts, we have been working to raise public awareness, improve media content, and ultimately shift our culture. We hope that you'll join us in this ambitious journey to achieve a world that is free from harmful gender stereotypes.
And now I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the woman whose vision for debunking stereotypes and developing spaces for change created the opportunity for each of us to be here tonight. Please join me in welcoming filmmaker and founder of the Representation Project, Jennifer Siebel-Newsom.
I should be applauding all of you. You are our future leaders and current leaders, and this is so cool that you are all here today. Thank you all so much for taking time to be here and invest in yourselves, and invest in your communities, and invest in our world. So yes, I'm Jennifer Siebel-Newsom, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the Representation Project's first ever student film premiere. I'm honored, and it's really cool. This is really cool. I'm honored and excited to be here this evening to share with you the work of these creative, inspiring, brilliant young filmmakers. As a filmmaker myself, tonight is really a dream come true, and I'm still a little bit in shock, so forgive me. I'm just so impressed. I feel like I'm looking into the future, and the future is very bright because of each and every one of you. So thank you for your presence and for your commitment to storytelling and being agents of change. I want to start by quickly saying how grateful I am to the Representation Project team. You guys are dynamites. You have carried this mission and this project forwards. And there's one person in particular that I want to acknowledge for bringing all of these initiatives to life, and that is our Executive Director, Dr. Caroline Heldman, right here. Please thank me in welcoming Dr. Heldman for her incredible inspiration and leadership at the Representation Project in moving us forward towards our ambitious goals and doing it with such grace and collegiality. I love this woman. She's an incredible friend and mentor. Thank you, Dr. Heldman. Now, I want to begin by saying that I know firsthand the power of film to change both culture and an individual's life. In fact, I found my voice through the process of making films. I kind of wish it came a little bit earlier, but I did find my voice. When I began my career in Hollywood at the ripe old age of 28, and yes, that is old by Hollywood standards. In fact, they say that Hollywood AARP, like the age that you're supposed to retire, is 25. So everything started to christen in terms of the problems that I saw in the world and the injustice that I could no longer stand for. I had big dreams for the kinds of stories I might tell and the people I wanted to represent, and instead was told by my agent at the time to lie about my age and take my Stanford MBA off of my resume. Well, I didn't do either, but my confidence was really shaken as I realized that everything that I had done in my life had no value in that town. And I'm talking about an industry, rather, that not only informs American cultural values, but then exports the lowest common denominator of what it is to be an American to the rest of the world. Excuse me. After 7 years in the aforesaid industry, being underestimated, being typecast as the dumb blonde or the trophy wife, and even violated by several industry titans, I married my now husband, Gavin Newsom, and became pregnant with our first child, Montana, a girl. And I suddenly couldn't imagine how I could raise her in a world that so demeaned, ridiculed, and objectified women and girls. So I knew I had to rewrite this story, and my journey as a filmmaker and social justice advocate began. In 2011, we premiered Misrepresentation at the Sundance Film Festival and sold to the Oprah Winfrey Network, and saw firsthand the power of film to spark a movement. Misrepresentation ignited a national conversation about the media's over-sexualization of women and girls and how it contributes to the underrepresentation of women and girls in positions of power and influence. And because of Misrepresentation's powerful impact, I founded the Representation Project, and since then we've premiered 2 other films, The Mask You Live In and The Great American Lie. And it's truly been a privilege to see these films and their social impact campaigns do their work in the world. To date, we've engaged almost 30 million people through our films. Our media literacy and social emotional learning curricula have helped youth around the globe break down gender stereotypes and rewrite limiting narratives for themselves, just like all of you here today. And our popular social media activism campaigns like Not Buying It, Ask Her More, and Represent Her, and even a few others like Be a Model Man, have achieved over 1.2 billion impressions, resulting in better representations of women across all major advertising, more equal treatment of female entertainers on the red carpet and beyond, and the election of over 100 female representatives to Congress in 2018. That's right, we've seen a huge sea change in our culture from the way we value women throughout society especially seeing women as leaders. And guess what? We're finally talking nationally about that ugly word patriarchy and the toll of toxic masculinity on our culture. And that's why we're all here tonight. Because what has become even more clear through the journey of making these films and launching the Representation Project is that media does indeed have the power to change hearts and minds. Media does indeed have the power to change attitudes and behavior. And media does indeed have the power to change culture once and for all. And I know that every single one of you in this room has the power to lead that change. So tonight I want to reflect on some of the amazing things we've already accomplished together. And I say that because I'm choking over here. It's important to reflect. It's something I actually don't do enough of, but it's important to take time to reflect and embrace and celebrate the journey and those little milestones along the way. And I think today was a really big milestone for all of us. And so I think it's important for you to take the time. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the amazing things that we've accomplished together. At our youth summit last year, we announced the update of our youth media lab. We started the lab to engage all of you, a remarkable generation of young people from all corners of the world, to join us in harnessing that power to advance gender equality. And we're excited to announce that nearly 1,000 of you, our future change makers, have joined us in our free youth media lab, creating content, connecting with each other, and becoming stronger advocates and allies in your communities. Congratulations. And I really want to thank you for all the work you're doing with us in the media lab. It's really, really important, as is my voice. Excuse me. In addition to our youth media lab, which continues to grow and welcome new members, we also launched our very first, our first ever Youth Media Academy this summer right here in Oakland in partnership with Global Girl Media. We set out to train a new generation of diverse young women storytellers to harness media for social change. And I'm beyond proud of what these young women have accomplished. Over the course of our 4-week intensive program, 12 young women learned how to make the short films you're about to see, from concept to storyboarding, to filming, to editing, all aspects of production. Our students also learned about social justice issues, community engagement, and political activism. And we partnered with Women's Voices Now to run an academy in Los Angeles, and one of the films produced in the academy will also be screened this evening. So that's really exciting. And I'm so incredibly proud of these young filmmakers and the brave way in which they're using their voices to tell much needed stories. All I can say is that you all are in for a real treat this evening, and I can't wait for you to see their amazing work. But finally, before we showcase the students' short films and hear from them about their experiences, I want to briefly reflect on the exciting day that most of you engaged in at our 4th annual Youth Media Summit. And I want all of you to give yourselves a round of applause because you showed up this morning committed change makers, and we don't take that for granted. So can we give yourselves a round of applause? You all showed up to discuss a problem in the world that you want to change through media. Many of you expressed dreams to see a world in which we are truly equal, a world where all of us can stay true to our authentic selves, our whole selves, and break free from limiting stereotypes. The summit hopefully gave you the language and the tools needed to use your individual voices to create media that will both disrupt the gender narrative and create a fairer, more just, more equitable world for everyone. From first partner of Stockton, Anna Nisahari Tubbs, I love her. She's about to have a baby any day now. Oh my gosh, how cool is it that she came here? You learn how to be your own personal game changer. Then Anne Contreras from Pure Edge taught you mindfulness and shared with you the wisdom of your presence in storytelling. And I tell you, like, Pure Edge is such a cool organization. And if you're not meditating, try and just do a few minutes every day, because it is the biggest gift you can give yourself. Deborah Souza Silva followed up with an incredible panel of diverse storytellers to inspire you to be inclusive of all people in every aspect of your storytelling. And I know that that can be hard, but the more you can push for that and demand it and require it, the better your stories will be, the more powerful your stories will be. Erin Kirkdill, who led our Oakland Summer Youth Media Academy, spoke to you about embracing failure and overcoming setbacks. Trust me, you're gonna experience a lot of failure on this journey of life. It's just part of being human. My husband always likes to say, fail forward fast. And it's true, and if you I can't even count my failures in life on my hands. The list is really, really, really long. So I just wanna remind you that, especially as an artist, as a storyteller, as someone in entertainment and in media, there will be setbacks, but you have to just keep marching forward. And lean on this community and your friends to give you support when you're feeling really low. You can do it. Trust me, you can do it. You can get through it. If I got through it, you guys can get through it. And Farhood Maybody from Wayfarer Entertainment talked to you, thank you Farhood, just a rock star, talked to you about healthy masculinity, authenticity, and finding your own path. Thank you. So, so, so important. And by the way, all of you young men in the room, I'm so happy to see you. I hope that you will take these tools and the language that you've learned today, if you hadn't learned it prior, and really share it with your friends and peers and colleagues. And then finally, you ended this incredible day brainstorming ideas for your future work and pledging to use your voice as an agent of change. Because that is what this is ultimately all about. It's all about you. Because you are the future, and you provide my generation hope. And I'm here tonight to remind you that you are all in the driver's seat. Each and every one of you has a powerful voice and an important voice, and you have an important point of view and an important perspective that needs to be heard. As our world's future storytellers and leaders, you can not just demand, but you can create a healthier culture and society that uplifts all of us. So I'm excited to watch each and every one of you as you exercise your voice and share your stories, demonstrating the change you wish to see in the world. And looking around this room, I am confident that we can make this change possible. So with that, I want to welcome you again to the Representation Project's first annual student film premiere. Please give yourselves and tonight's filmmakers one more round of applause. And now I'm going to turn things over to tonight's MC, Annie Delgado, who is a rock star, the Representation Project Director of Youth Programming. We love you, Annie. Thank you.
One more round of applause, please. All right, without no further ado, we are going to jump into our student films.
So there's a 3-question challenge. What problem do you see in the world that you want to address or fix?
The problem I see around the world right now is lack of education. These are guys building and no one's starting it. The problem often is citizens of the United States disrespecting the place they live in and not realizing how lucky they are.
No. I got it. Look.
I see global warming as a huge problem. Plastic waste. I would like to all be gone because it's really poisoning the earth. We really don't have that to go to.
Global warming, that's a big problem right now. Big issue. Plastic pollution in the ocean.
How can you use social media to
post on social media. We will raise a lot of election awareness.
How I use social media to promote my conversation is trying to spread the word out, sharing it with my peers, and like and share. I can use social media as a spotlight by posting my opinions regardless of who's agrees.
I can post it on my Instagram stories, I can put it on my Snapchat stories, I can just wear a shirt or a hat saying blah blah blah. I can just show like my followers or the people what like plastic is in the ocean and how it's destroying the world.
Or some people are auditing because it keeps going on and doing more. We might not even be able to.
What steps can you take in your daily life? Steps I could do in my daily life is stop using plastic bags. Probably encourage stores to not use plastic bags or sell plastic.
Some steps that I can take in my day-to-day life to address this issue is by sharing it with my peers and friends, and try to make a club and just try to keep all the things alive.
Just don't even pollute or anything. Just try to help, somewhat, and then try to encourage other people to stop polluting and everything.
I would encourage to like reach out to people.
Nothing has really stopped me, it's just finding the right motivation. The right people to back me up.
Yeah, actually, tomorrow there is a protest at the college, so let's go.
Now the 3-question challenge.
Mi nombre es María Antonia Hernández Bonilla. Ofelia Salas Camacho. No me van a creer ustedes, yo no tuve infancia. Imagínense usted, de su propia madre, que la agarre usted a 6 meses y la lleve a regalar a un mercado. No, no tuve lo que pues quedarme con mis padres, sino con una tía. Es que yo tuve un accidente y me entró mucha depresión. Y el doctor me dijo que viniera aquí porque estaba sola viviendo en mi casa y pues me sentía mal, yo solita. Y el doctor me recomendó este lugar. Es muy bonito, porque a esta altura estar uno solo en un lugar y como que no va. Donde haya diversión, allá vamos. Y aquí es bien bonito porque uno se hace de amigos y a veces hay clases instructivas, es muy bueno. Enseña muchas cosas. Nos hacen comida como para Navidad, para el Día del Turkey, así el Día de la Madre, nos hacen comida, baile. Sí, o sea, nos ponemos a gusto. Es una buena experiencia, ¿saben? El convivio, porque habemos, como venimos de diferentes culturas. Cultura es medio de cómo se desarrolla una persona. O sea, hay una cultura
que salvadoreño, que Guatemala, la cultura en que nosotros estamos sometidos. Por ejemplo, venimos a este país súper civilizado, aprendemos otras cosas que nosotros no las sabemos. ¿Ya? Una de las amigas que venía y compartíamos acá, era de Nicaragua. Y ese día me dice, Toñita, te traigo esto, me puse. Y ella me regaló esos champús. El champú era acondicionador de este color. Y entonces ella murió. Y yo me sentí pues como que ella me dejaba un cuerpo. Y a usted por dejarme el pelo así, porque la mayoría de personas dicen, oh, wonderful your hair.
Yo me la paso todo el día aquí, desde 8:30 hasta a las 3 que cierran. Nos alegramos el corazón.
That was Hermanas Mayores Nunca Muy Gris. And up next we have In a Body.
Body image. Body image.
Body image.
Body image.
Body image.
Body image to me is basically just the physical features or the physical attributes of your outward appearance.
The only person who can make you feel self-conscious about your body is yourself. If everybody has an opinion.
Body image to me has always been who you are, basically, how comfortable you are with your own skin. The idea that you don't have to be someone else in order to feel comfortable with who you are.
I think the concept of body image definitely comes from media representation and also like from other people, like kind of like outside force that you can't control. Body image is to me a social construct that was created a long, long time ago that needs a lot of change in the next coming years. Like when I was in 6th grade, I was around like 72 pounds, and I remember my not authentic friends telling me that, oh, like you need to eat more, and that when I did like gain weight or they noticed that my thigh gap wasn't as far apart, they would say, oh, Denise, like good job, I think you got like larger, like that's really good. I thought I really had to look a certain way for people to like me and to like be accepted, and I thought that I had to in a way like conform to what somebody else wanted me to be.
body image isn't really talked about. It's sort of pushed aside because it's seen as this sort of effeminate quality that men have. I mean, people constantly put other people down based on the way we look, but between guys, sometimes that's seen as a joke, and at first it was like, oh, haha, you're fat, that's kind of funny, but eventually it adds up to where it gets really specific, and it becomes offensive rather than humorous, because, you know, you're supposed to be okay to joke around with your friends, but once they start targeting those insecurities, things that you have told them privately, then it really becomes kind of a negative sort of impact on me and, you know, on other people. For women, body positivity has become a wider conversation that's been happening recently, and it's no better between men and women because they both have to live up to, you know, insane standards, but I feel like for men, the conversation just hasn't started.
You know, growing up, I used to believe that, like, you know, I had to have this kind of like fit physique, you know, big muscles, 6-8 pack, you know, things like that. I used to, you know, really believe that that was, you know, what the perfect representation of a good-looking body or a good-looking male figure would be until, you know, I became who I am today.
Just make yourself happy. Look at yourself, tell yourself you're beautiful every day. If you're uncomfortable with something, then if you can change it, just go ahead and change it. Don't worry about what anybody else says.
There's definitely going to be hard days and there's going to be easy days, and just to remind yourself that you're you and no one else is going to have to judge you for it. I definitely think that we need to look into why we have certain checklists for each person and need to filter why we focus so much on that instead of letting people dress, feel, wear, do whatever they like.
What society says or not, I still have to live with, you know, how I feel about myself. And so, you know, there's not going to be somebody with me every day telling me, hey, you look good or you're doing good, because you're not going to look good for everybody. But what's most important is that I look good for me, and that's the only person that, you know, whose opinion really matters, because that's who I have to live for every day. Just love and appreciate what you have and, you know, who you are, because there was a reason why, you know, God or, you know, the person, you know, who we believe made you that way.
Wrestling has completely changed my life. Over the years, I was a really nervous and anxious person, and just through everything that it's taught me, it's definitely made me a stronger, more confident person.
It's not really much of a hobby, more of a passion. It's something I do whenever I feel stressed. It's a way I clear my mind out of things in life. Like if I'm stressed at school or family, I know that soccer's always going to be there because I've been doing it ever since I was young.
There's always girls that are always gonna be better than me, taller girls, always gonna way faster. But I always think to myself that it don't matter, and I always work hard and hustle. When I went to high school my freshman year, there was no JV. I had to go straight to varsity because we didn't have enough girls playing for JV. And it was hard because I didn't really know the fundamentals. I started wrestling because my friend had invited me. We couldn't get our schedules changed, so we had to dedicate our own time at 5:30 in the morning, and then after school from 2 to like 6 p.m. to condition and kind of just introduce us to the sport. Other male wrestlers that are involved in the sport, in the past they have treated us pretty poorly and just told us to quit or it's not for us. We're not as strong or competitive as them, or we don't do things properly within wrestling. We want to be good, and all these negative things that are like being put on us, it can affect us in the way like that we wrestle, but often we just try to ignore it. There's definitely a huge stigma with women's wrestling and how it's been dominated by males for quite a while, but when people approach me in that sense and tell me that it's not for you, it makes me want to work harder. Male coaches didn't really quite understand how to coach us just because it's extremely different from coaching guys. Our bodies are completely different. An example of this would be women are way more flexible than guys, and so a lot of these moves that they would teach us, girls can easily get out of it. Compared to a guy, it really is.
At the age that I first started playing soccer was 6, but I didn't really like the sport by then because I was still a little young. But then I went back into playing the sport at 8, and that's when I really fell in love with the sport. When I first moved to the United States, I had spent 2 years without my dad because I was in El Salvador, he was already here. And soccer was a way for me and my family to bond because we're all really active. My mom actually plays too. So in my high school soccer team, we don't really get all the funding that we need. Like there's a lot of injustice there because the guys soccer team doesn't really win as many games or as many titles, unlike the girls, but they still get all the new stuff, the new soccer balls, the new jerseys and everything, and we have to work hard to get all the new stuff we wanted. I feel the only time we receive attention is when we're made it to quarterfinals or semifinals. That's when people start to realize, oh, that we actually can play. And I feel like we don't get that much attention because we don't have that much publicity at school. Like with the guys' football team or soccer team, you see posters everywhere. You hear all the announcements on the intercoms. All the teachers are like, oh, go support the guys' soccer team. But when it comes to the girls playing, they don't really pay that much attention to it. And that really reflects on the student support to the team too. Being a coach for young kids is really rewarding because I feel like I'm really making a difference in their lives. Some of the struggles, training a group of little kids who are mostly boys, is all the doubt from the parents. Many times when my dad introduces me to them as the person who trains their kids, they're very doubtful. They're always asking me how old I am or how long have I been playing and if I really know what I'm doing. And I know they don't mean it in a bad way, like they're just not used to seeing a young female coaching a group of little kids.
So we don't really get enough resources because we don't have a committed coach. A lot of girls don't really want to play basketball for the consistency of our coaches. They're never committed. The guys basketball team are ranked 1, the top in us, and we're Division 4. So when we play basketball, we barely have people. We barely have like 20 people, 14 people compared to the guys basketball team. They have a full crowd. So we need some people to help us make a change. It's more funding, more support at games, especially from the guys basketball team to help us lift us up.
just the simple fact that if people came out to support us during the games, I feel like it would really encourage us to try harder and to try to get further ahead for our school and to like show people that we're worth the support, like we're worth you being here, spending your time looking at our team.
Some changes that we need to see in women's wrestling would definitely be more publicity, more support from our school, definitely more funding, and more collegiate wrestling programs for girls in the future so they can continue their wrestling career.
And following the conclusion of our next and final film titled Home, Jocelyn's Story, please stay seated as we will have a brief panel discussion with some of our film presenters, creators who are here tonight.
My name is Jocelyn. I am 28 years old and I was born in Honduras. Growing up in Honduras, I had a really nice childhood. I could say everything was good until my mom decided it was time for us to move over here. I was 9 when she moved. She told me that she was going for a business trip because she didn't want to tell me that she was gonna come over here because I guess it was gonna be hard for me. It took her 9 months for her to basically get the money to bring me here. I couldn't say bye to anybody. My grandpa got killed, my cousin got raped, and my uncle got killed as well for the gangs. And mind me, my grandma was already a owner of a business, so that makes it even dangerous for us to be there. So if I was to say I'm going to the US, my grandma was my more danger of getting attacked by the gang members. When I left Honduras, it was scary because I had to ride a bus with 17 different kids who were the age of 9 to 15. They gave us all a little notebook where we had to write what was gonna be our name, the age we were gonna say, who were our parents, where were we from, why were we coming over here. So basically, like, they make us learn whatever history of the little kid or the little girl we were using. On my letter, supposedly I was coming here to fix my teeth because she had gotten into an accident. So they told me that basically I didn't have to talk. So they gave me a magazine. They told me that that day, September 11, 2001, they told me that I was gonna grab a magazine and I was just gonna hold on to the lady and act like she was my mom, like she was gonna respond for me. They cut my hair. Like, they cut my hair really short, just like the girl. They dyed my hair with highlights because the girl on the passport had highlights. The day came, and in the group that I was in, it was 8 of us. 5 of them got stopped, and the other ones we were able to cross the line. So we got in the plane, and after that, like, none of the whole Twin Towers had happened. But when we landed in LA, that's when everything changed. Because not only they told us, like, we're all gonna look for the sweater. In this case, they told me that I had to look for someone with a pink sweater. So I'm coming now and to, like, pass immigration, I see everybody just praying and holding on to, like, each other. And again, I didn't know what was going on because everything was in English. Even though I was in LA, like, in the airport, nobody was speaking no type of Spanish. Like, everything happening, like, planes crashing into it. It was scary. Like, I really thought it was the end of the world. I looked for this lady for the longest, but everything was a chaos in there. I was lost. I didn't know what to say because I thought that if I asked someone, like, they were gonna call immigration, or it was just an ugly feeling. Like, after 3 hours, I was able to find a lady, and she took me to my mom's friend, which I never met. And I had to wait there for a week in order for my mom to find someone that would take her to LA to get me. I think one of the hardest things for me here, it was to learn the language. Not only, even though I went to a school that had a lot of Hispanic kids, all of them didn't speak the same way I speak, so it was harder for me to communicate to even people that spoke the same language. I hated my mom even more because I didn't want to be here. Like, over there I was fine, or I didn't have to struggle the way I was here. And it took me a year for me to learn the language. I basically isolated myself from everybody. I would spend most of my time at the library, and I guess the fact that I was alone made me push myself a little harder for me to learn it, so that way I could communicate and also help my mom out, because it was really hard for her to find a job because of the language. She didn't have papers, and it was just a whole mess. Ever since I became a mom, I'm afraid of not being able to be there for my girls, because I know how hard it is to just have one parent. I know she will be okay and loved by everybody, but now I don't ask God for money or anything else, but He let me live a little longer with my girls to make them strong. The fact that I didn't understand what my mom most of the time was super worried about me, like, I just thought that she was just always on my neck and didn't let me live my life, but I really didn't know how dangerous it was until I became. After that, basically it helped me out to understand that most of the time that my mom was hard on me, and then in my head I was like, man, I hate you, like, I hate you not letting me leave. I was gonna be in that position later on, like now. If I could tell my mom anything, it would be thank you. Thanks for being so hard on me, and thanks for not giving up on me. Thanks for being the best dad, the best mom, and the best friend.
One more round of applause, please, for all 4 films. And if we could please have Griselda, Melanie, and Aaron, please come on down.
Wow. Okay, so let's take a deep breath. Let's breathe in and out. Let's do some self-care, right?
Your films were just nothing short of amazing. Can we give them another round of applause? Yeah, we can stand. They get a standing ovation. Let's do this. Let's do this. So my name is Caroline, and I am joined by Melanie and Griselda, who are filmmakers, and also Aaron, who is a filmmaker. We're just going to launch right into this. I know it's been a long day, but this is a panel where the rubber meets the road, right? Because these are young women who have done what we're hoping this Youth Media Summit inspires all of the young people to do, which is make their own media content, finding your voice through media making. So let's jump in here. Let's start with having you each of the students, Melanie, let's start with you. Tell us, who are you? Where did you grow up? Tell us about your passions, your interests, and what you plan to do in the future with your life. A quick, short question.
Yeah. My name is Melanie. I originally grew up in Arkansas. I came to California around 2-3 years ago, I think. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what drives you? What are your passions, and what do you plan to do in the future?
Okay. My family really drives me. They've been there for me most of the time, but yeah, and what I'm passionate about is a lot of things. Like I can't decide on, like, it's really difficult deciding on what I'm really passionate about because there's a lot of reasons to be passionate. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. And how about you, Griselda? You're here with your mother and your little sister Zoe. Hello. Tell us about you, where you grew up, what year you are in school, what drives you, your passions, your interests, your plans for the future.
Big question. So I am 6, so sorry about that. So my name is Griselda. I go to Rice High School and I'm a senior. So I was born and raised in Oakland. I currently live in Castro Valley due to gentrification, but we're there. Some passions. I have a big passion for music. Although I'm really shy about it, I won't tell people about it. Just kind of keep it to myself. My family is probably my biggest motivation, especially my little sister. She drives me crazy, but she's definitely one of the biggest reasons. I think that was it, or was there another? Yeah.
Okay. So neither of you had any filmmaking experience before the Youth Media Academy this summer in Oakland, right? No experience. Tell us about this experience. Which film did you work on, and what was it like? What were some of the challenges, the highs and lows of this process? Tell us about your film.
My film was In a Body. The most difficult thing was like deciding on an idea and how to do it, and also editing it. Those were like the most difficult ones. But like after that, it became easy, and we kind of grew confident in it, and yeah.
My film was the last one you guys saw, which was Jocelyn's story. I think it's called Home. I don't even know my own name, but so what was the most difficult? Or
what were some of the challenges? What was that process like for you, and what were some of the highs and the lows?
The whole process honestly was frustrating, just because, like they said, I didn't have any experience in filmmaking, and I got really mad at myself if I didn't get something right. And originally, that wasn't supposed to be my film. I was in a group with 2 other girls, or I think I was 2, so it was 3. But then our plan didn't work out, and I think I'm really thankful to this program because they taught me that some things don't go as planned, but sometimes that's better. And like Melanie said, the most difficult thing probably was editing, and honestly coming up with an idea that you want to focus on and making sure if you're in a group
you have to agree with your whole group and make sure that that's what you guys want to work on. And you're gonna bump heads a lot, because I know me and my group would get mad at each other. We didn't like a few stuff, and it was girls, so we would kind of give each other attitude, and like just be like really subtle about it, but still give attitude. But at the end of the day, we really liked what we did. They couldn't be here today, but I came here to represent my whole group.
Thank you. A question for you, Erin. What growth, what did you see over the course of this experience? What growth in the girls did you witness, and what was that process like?
Yeah, there was a tremendous amount of growth. So the films you saw were done over the course of 4 weeks. In the first week, we kind of went over the basics of storytelling, camera, sound. So they didn't really have a lot of time to research ideas and talk to people. So maybe like the second week we started shooting. So maybe they had 2-3 days to kind of come up with their ideas, find people, or find the senior center. And then they had 2 days to shoot, and then 2 weeks to edit. So it was a really fast program. They didn't have a lot of time. A lot of the girls kind of started the program unsure of what story they were going to tell, how they were going to tell it. A lot of the girls were afraid to touch the camera because we were fortunate to have these nice Canon cameras. So a lot of them were like, if I break it, I don't want to touch it. So I think it was like overcoming that fear of the equipment that seemed kind of scary and foreign, because it was like this pretty nice film equipment. And once they got over that and were able to have fun with it, I think some of them really enjoyed filming more so than editing, and each girl kind of like found her niche, which was cool. I will say the hardest part in filmmaking is collaborating, and like for Griselda's group, I think there were like 5 girls co-directing. So trying to compromise and like make a decision was like this whole conversation every time. So that was super challenging. But they did it with grace, and both of the films turned out great. So yeah, I think you both grew so much. So I'm really proud of both of you.
Okay, so one last question before we open it up, because I know you have tons of questions for these filmmakers. What advice would you give to someone sitting in the audience right now who is unsure about whether or not they can do this, or they haven't done this before? What advice would you give them?
I would say to just try it, because at first I was really unsure if I should do it, and I don't know, I just did it because I was trying to find out what should I find, what should I do, and if it was interesting, and if I was gonna choose it as my future. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of deciding if I want to do it or I don't, because there's other things I'm kind of passionate about, but yeah, just try it.
I'd agree with her. At first I was sorry. I wasn't sure that I wanted to even join the program. I just knew that they were at my school, and I was they're only accepting a couple girls, and I'm like, what are the chances that I'm gonna get in? Because I heard a lot of girls wanted to join, but then Annie emailed me, and she's I eventually ended up joining the program, and I think it was probably one of the best decisions I made, because it kind of opened my mind to be more open to opportunities, and at least experience how filmmaking would be. And I mean, at least now I know that it's a lot of work. We had a lot of footage, and we had to cut it down to 5 minutes. And it was frustrating because there were so many things we wanted to include, and it was a learning experience. And I think an advice would be just to go for it. Annie would always tell me that I was brave because I joined the group. I was there attending it, and I think that's very important, to just really go for the things you want to try, because if you don't, you're going to regret it.
And how about you, Erin? What advice do you have for young filmmakers who are just starting out?
Yeah, well, just to summarize what they said, be brave, try new things, fail better. But also, you don't need a youth media academy to start making films. There can be something you're passionate about in your community, and you guys have cell phones, iPhones. Some of those new iPhones shoot better 4K footage than a lot of cameras, so you can, you know, shoot with that. My advice would be, if you ever shoot video, shoot it horizontally. Don't shoot it vertically, because when you project it on the screen, you need it to be horizontal. But yeah, just go into your communities and start asking questions and start filming.
All right, so what questions do we have in the audience? I will paraphrase it because we are live streaming this. Yes, right here in the back. So for the student filmmakers, what inspired your ideas for these films?
For me and my group, it inspired us to make that a content because we knew that everybody goes through that at some point, and some do get over it, but not all people. So yeah, and we wanted to to tell people that there are other people experiencing it. It's not just you.
What inspired us was the fact that she's Latina, and you know, she's from Honduras. I'm Salvadorian, and you know, I know there's so many people out there that, you know, have their parents cross the border, have to have sacrifices made for them in order for them to have a better life. And we thought it was a good idea because not many people understand the struggles that they go through. They might be like, oh, well, yeah, I understand it. Like, I hear about it, but they don't really go through it, so they won't ever fully understand. You know, and I thought it was a good idea just because my parents, they went through this, not the same exact thing, but they did cross the border. And, you know, they had to leave my two sisters in El Salvador. And, you know, a lot of things happened from there. But it's kind of a story that helps other people relate to it, especially with the type of society we live in, where there's a lot of immigration laws and not everybody's equal. So we thought it was something that should be told. Her story was important, especially because she said she was scared, and I think a lot of us are, but we don't say anything about it.
Other questions? Oh.
Yeah, I just want to say I was there the day that they were filming with Jocelyn, and I think that was the first time she had ever told that story. And so just like the act of sharing it with the girls, and I think she was really moved that they were curious and wanted to hear her story, and so them giving her the space to share the story was like extremely impactful for her.
And a lot of you did that earlier today, right, with your vulnerability, and imagine being vulnerable and having it filmed. What a feat for Jocelyn. Other questions for our filmmakers? Yes?
How do you guys find the people to film them? How do you guys ask them, or?
How did you locate your subjects for filming?
In my group, there was one person that volunteered to actually be interviewed, and then she asked one of her friends if he wanted to be interviewed too. We actually had one idea where we asked strangers about body image and stuff, and so we took some of those footages to make the film. Yeah.
Was that process harder, asking strangers?
Yes.
So the question was it harder asking strangers?
Yeah, it was harder asking strangers because some would reject it, and we'd kind of feel bad, but we still had to keep going and find other strangers. And then sometimes there would be a lot of noise, and then we didn't know how to work the camera, a lot of light, and yeah, that was pretty much it.
So for my group, this girl, she knew, she's friends. That's her lash lady. I don't know if you girls have ever done your lashes, but she's a lash tech, and they're like family. So through connections, that's how we found somebody. But I think the most part, how you find somebody is just kind of putting yourself out there and be willing to be rejected by people. But there's always going to be someone who's going to be willing to, want to talk.
And we have time for one more question. One more question? Yes. How do you think your experience with this program affects your life?
It made me realize that it didn't always happen to females. It also happened to male, and so I tried to apply that to my family and in my life too. Because sometimes my sister would make fun of my dad, and I would tell her to stop because I tried to consider his feelings too, because he's also human. And sometimes we don't do that because they're adults and we think that they don't, like, they already have their life collected when they don't always have it collected. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't. Everybody is making it up as they go along. That's a good lesson to learn.
What was the question?
The question was how this experience affected your life.
It affected me because it let me just kind of accept failure, because I was really on the idea. My first idea for the film with other girls was gentrification, just because I was just going through it this summer, and I really wanted to share it just so other people could relate, because I could. But then it just didn't work out, so I took that like as a failure. But I think it helped me, especially today. I think they talked a lot about failure, and it really did help me understand that you need, in order to be successful, you need to fail a lot of times. And I think that's how it impacted me, because I learned that it's okay to get frustrated and be impatient with yourself.
Okay. Let's give this panel a very big round of applause. And we'll turn the mic over to Annie Delgado, the woman who has made this day happen. Let's give it up for her.
So we do not want this to simply be a moment. We want this to be part of a movement. And so, hermanas mayores nunca muy gris. Erin, if you could please go ahead or actually, I'm sorry, Griselda, if you could read the calls to action that were comprised, and then Erin, I'm going to have you read for the third film. So, okay. Go ahead, Griselda, can you go ahead and read the calls to action?
Do you want me to do it for this one, because no one's here?
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay. Hermanas mayores. So they want you to set aside your technology for half an hour each day and engage in face-to-face communication with someone outside of work or school. Reconnect and regularly check in with an elder from your family or your neighborhood. And volunteer at a local senior center. The one that they shot this in was at the Fruitvale BART, if any of you guys live in Oakland. Yeah, so it's real close, not too far. So yeah, and they would love volunteers.
So take a moment, take out your cameras or your phones and take a snapshot, please, of this call to action. And we're set. Up next. All right, in a body. Melanie, can you please walk us through your group's call to action?
Create a list of positive traits about yourself that are not connected to your physical appearance. Feeling down after you scroll through your social media feed, revise what it is feeding you and find #media we like. Consider surrounding yourself with people focused on social change instead of physical change.
All right, photos, cameras, phones out, take a snapshot. And our last call to action. Oh, She's Got Game. Again, they weren't able to be here, but you can share the film, start a conversation with students, coaches, teachers, parents, and school administrators, contact your school's parent council and school board, email your school's coaches, attend a female sports game at your school, publicize girls at sports teams, games, events, etc. at your school. So please feel free to take a picture of this call to action. And our last one, Griselda, please.
I thank you, to someone who created an opportunity for you. Educate others about the realities of migration to the United States and the human side of the story. Connect with local migrant groups to provide assistance and support. Reach out to local political and community leaders to sponsor discussions and community forums to educate others about the realities and motivations behind migration.
These two young ladies are representing the others who were unable to be here, so if we could give them a shout out, as well as a shout out to the others who had to be out of town. Thank you. We will see you in 2020. Please stay connected at the Rep Project and through our Youth Media Lab, and look for a Youth Media Academy near you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Can I tell you you're